Ahaan just woke up from a nap. Yeah, hello. He has his nap face. We can't do a Mother's Day video without River because I know everyone's gonna be like, where's River? It's scary. Every time I listen to the story, I get anxious. And if this happened to me, I don't know if I would be able to survive this. I don't know how you did it. Ahaan was transported in a cooler.
That my legs were up in the air like this.
We can literally get kidnapped. I shouldn't be laughing at that, a bad person. I can't be laughing at this. It's Mother's Day and I thought it would be a great time to do a nice sit-down video with my mom. We don't really get to do this. We spend most of our time back in LA, so it's rare that we get to do a sit-down video with my mom. Today we are going to be talking about my birth story. Not my birth story, like when I was in her belly, if that makes sense. Ahan's birth story. Ahan's birth story is actually crazy. Every time my mom tells me this, I get so much anxiety because I picture what I would have done in her situation, and it's the craziest. It could be a movie. It's like that crazy. And it's the first time she's actually speaking about it in this video. She's never ever spoken about Ahan's birth story. So we're going to go over that. We're going to go over some funny childhood stories and memories that we've never spoken about. Some nice ones and some really scary ones. We're also going to talk about things we experience as moms, the good and the bad, the weight gain, the stretch marks, the changes we experience in our bodies, breastfeeding, the struggles that come with breastfeeding, and all of that mommy stuff. It's also my first Mother's Day. I mean, technically, last year I was a mom because I was pregnant, but this is like my official Mother's Day. And I don't know, what do you guys have planned? Ivor, do you have something planned for me? Do you and River have something planned for me?
I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. I'm not sure.
Listen.
I still have to plan it.
It's today. What do you mean?
Oh, that's not good.
You forgot?
That's not good.
Ivor, come on. It's my first Mother's Day. You already sent me flowers?
I forgot.
You're so annoying. And I'm really excited for this video today. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get into it. I think a good way to start this video is my birth story and Ahan's birth story. I mean, obviously my mom's going to do this because she says it so well. This is something you've never spoken about publicly. Yes. No one knows my birth story or Ahan's. And Ahan's is so scary. Every time she tells me the story, I get anxiety. So, do you want to tell everyone?
So, when I got pregnant, I remember we can't find out in India, right? We can't find out if it's a girl or boy, and me and Dad always wanted a girl. And when he had gone to one of the trips in America, there was Prakash Uncle's neighbor who was called Alana. So he says, I want to have a girl. We decided girl and we want to name her Alana. He didn't even know the meaning of it.
Wait, so I'm named after a random neighbor in the US? Like that's what my name?
Yes.
Seriously?
He just decided.
Wow.
So I was, like I said, very skinny and a really big belly, you know. Towards the end, I was literally waddling like a duck. And Dadi had this friend who was a doctor, Dr. Daftari. She only wanted to go with him. She didn't give me a choice. She said, you know, I trust him and whatever. But he was an old-fashioned doctor, and I had read up, you know, how painful it's going to be. And then I just thought, you know, my hips are so narrow, belly was big. How is this baby going to come out, you know? So I had read up about epidural, and I spoke about it. I went into labor, and in the beginning, the pain was a lot. I didn't know it was going to get 50 million times worse, you know. And then towards the end, it was so bad. Firstly, I was seeing this white light. I thought it was heaven. I remember even puking. And I remember Allison, my sister, screaming at the doctor. Like, you know, give her a painkiller. And I said, I want the epidural. And he just didn't want to give it because he was this old-fashioned doctor that believed that 1% it could damage your spine. Mm-hmm. And Chicky was telling him to give it to, and he just refused to give it to
That's
him.
insane.
Yeah, insane. Yeah.
Can you imagine just feeling like this unbearable pain and your doctor is refusing to give you pain medication because he believes that you should do it naturally?
Yeah.
So mom left out a few details, but when she tells this story, it's so funny
Yeah.
because she described the hospital room being so chaotic. She's screaming, her sister's having a panic attack, yelling at the doctor, "Give her an epidural!" My dad's at the back, like he's almost fainted because he's looking at my mom almost faint.
Yeah.
And I'm picturing this chaos, and it's so funny. I'm sorry, I know that
Yeah.
you were going through a lot, but it's just also funny.
No, I said once that I'm going to die, and then the doctor said, "Chicky, I think you're going to faint. Let's the surgery room is really tiny. Let's take you out if
Did
you're
he
going to faint." He
Almost?
almost fainted, whatever, but he just wouldn't give me that epidural.
That is-
So I've gone through labor, and we didn't know it was a girl or
Naturally.
boy, right? Naturally, and I can't explain to you how painful it is. The pain all disappears. You know, when I saw Alana and she came out with a mouth like this. She's got a lovely pouty mouth, and she came out with a full mouth, and she was chubby and cute, and and we saw it's a baby girl, and that's what we wanted. And you just forget all that pain. You forget that the doctor, and you forget all the drama that happened in that room, and you forget that my legs were up in the air like this.
It's crazy
Yeah.
because like I don't know the feeling about not knowing the gender because we knew we were having a boy, but it must be so surreal to like give birth and then you're like, oh, I've had a girl or a boy. I think that we should now maybe talk about Ahan's birth story. This one is the opposite of mine. There's nothing funny about it. It's scary. Every time I listen to the story, I get anxious, and if this happened to me, I don't know if I would be able to survive this. I don't know how you did it.
So with Ahan, it was totally like, North and South Pole, totally different birth experience. So when Alana, with your first children, you're always, overprotective, you spoil them a lot more. It's your first child and you don't want to do everything the first time for them. So when I was pregnant with Ahan, I didn't want Alana to feel insecure because I had to make her understand, that there's a baby growing in there. And of course, we wanted to have a boy. We said now that we have a girl, we said boy, boy, boy. We didn't even think it's going to be a second girl or whatever. We just said boy. And the doctor said just take a lot of care towards the last trimester. Don't carry, Alana too much because she was a big baby and she had put on a lot of weight by then. And I didn't care. So I kept carrying her a lot. And around 42 days before my due date, my water bag started leaking a little bit, which I didn't realize. I just was confident. I thought that, what is this? And I was eating popcorn and watching a movie with Chicky in the night. And my water bag started leaking, which I couldn't figure out because it's never happened to me before. And then I just let it be. And then it happened again. And then I went and told Dad. So we woke up Dadi, and Dadi's called the doctor, and the doctor said, take her into a hospital right now. Water bags. He asked the color of the liquid.
So the water bag's broken? Oh my god.
Yeah, whatever. I reached the hospital and they did a sonography and all the liquid had come out by then, and Ahan was in one corner.
Oh my god.
In one corner curled up. They just didn't wait. They took me into an emergency C-section. Surgery, and went into surgery. I didn't know what was happening, and I was aware because they give you an epidural. Finally I get my epidural, okay, because yeah, finally, okay, but because it was a C-section they had to give it to me, so you don't feel anything from waist below. It's all numb. They were
Were
talking
you
me through.
panicking though because he was 45 days premature?
At that point, I wasn't thinking of no time to panic because it happened so soon. And when they got Ahan out, he was this small.
Oh my
this small.
God.
And I asked Chicky where they're taking him. They said they're going to count his fingers and toes. They always whatever. And then they gave me something, and after a while I passed out. And the next thing I remember, I woke up in the hospital room, and I looked to the left, looked to the right. I couldn't see the baby. And I just said, where's my child? So they didn't want to tell me. I was very drowsy and sleepy. I fell off to sleep again. And then I think I must have woken up many hours later, and again I didn't see Ahan, I didn't see the baby. They said, where is my child? Then Dadi and Nani came and Dadaji came, and they told me, they said, we didn't want to tell you because you would get upset, because Daftaris didn't have a premature baby ward, right? So Nanavati was the hospital that Dadaji was managing, right? The heart, whatever. So he said, they have incubators there, and he had to be put into an incubator because it was really tiny.
He was in NICU. That's what they call it. I think
yeah,
for NICU is newborn, where they put them in that machine because they need life support because they're not supposed to be out of the womb yet.
So that's when I panicked, and I said, why didn't you all tell me? They said you needed to rest. I said, I don't care. I want to get out of here, take me to where my son is.
You missed a part. Mom missed a part.
Yeah.
Ahan was transported
Yeah.
in a cooler. This is back in the day. What is this? 25 years
a
ago.
Thermocol box.
A thermocol
They
box.
put a little daftaris, that baby cloth that you wrap the baby in. And literally like a film story, they put him in that, and Dadi and Nani took him and rushed him to Nanavati. We're there to admit him and put him into an incubator.
I just realized Ahan's life is a movie. This could be a movie. Can you imagine being premature and then you're like, there's like a slow motion scene where the doctor is carrying him wrapping him in the thing, putting him in a little food box and taking him to the other hospital to save his life, and you are passed out doing this thing with dramatic music. And then
And this is not the end. Not the end of the film. Film is really reality, okay? I have had a cesarean, not realize how painful, and then the epidural, the effect starts wearing out. So you start feeling, at that time, this is about 27 years ago. They didn't have this kind of numbing effect where they give you injections where your stitches are. You start feeling the pain in few hours. So I had to, in a wheelchair, go down. They didn't want me. They were keeping me away from my child. Okay. So I went down. I remember wheelchair, in a lot of pain. I don't know how I reached the hospital. They put me into the room on top. And I said, I want to see my son.
So you went from the smaller hospital, you said you wanted to be transported to the bigger one.
Yes.
This is like less than 24 hours after your surgery.
Yes, surgery, and in a lot of pain. And then my milk had started coming by then, whatever, all of that. So I've gone on top, and then this is not the end of the drama. I've gone on top, and they've taken me on top, and again another few more hours, they're not bringing the baby to me. And I said, what is happening? So Dadaji said, you've had your C-section, you have to rest. The baby's in an incubator down, he's okay. I was wondering why. I had to give him milk, So I said, I want to go see my baby. They took me on a wheelchair down, and the ICU, you're not allowed in, only the nurses are there, because they're really tiny babies there, right? Some of them were even smaller than Ahan. This is what Dadaji told me later to make me feel good, because I was really upset. I'm seeing this nurse holding him, giving him a little dropper of milk, and I have lost it.
It was formula.
Yeah, I have entered in. I said, what are you doing? He says, no, because you were in the other hospital and this hospital, whatever, we had to start giving him. I said, no way. You can't do this to my child. I will come down even if it's 10 times in a day. I don't care about this pain and cesarean. I want to feed my baby. Don't you dare give him, that dropper, whatever you're giving him.
That's crazy. What a story.
Yeah. But then listen to this. I got a little okay after that, came down to feed him again, and I'm seeing this little stick on his leg. Okay? At some point they figured out that he's got a hairline fracture on his little small leg. He was so small, like a little rat. His thighs were so thin. He was like, he was 42 days early. He's got a hairline fracture, so they've got a little wooden thing and they've wrapped his thing, and so this
Poor
is
guy.
everything what Ahan has been through.
True,
Yeah.
my God.
And then
what a story.
10 days in hospital. 10 days I was feeding him non-stop, then I got him home. And it's, like I said, it's a very different story from Alana. Both, equally magical, that the children came into our lives and was safe and, was healthy. He was very healthy in spite of being 42 days early, just very thin.
But wait, Ahan, it's funny because I was the giant 9-pound baby and I turned out quite tiny, and then Ahan's the premature and he's like 5-6 pounds and he's huge.
Yeah.
He's like 6'3".
Because he always ate butter chicken and rajma, and you were very fussy.
I was a fussy eater. Okay, I think that's good. We did a lot birth story. I think we should move on. We'll keep these pretty snappy. I remember 2 really scary stories. These are the only stories I remember as a kid. One was Ahan and me were playing down, and for some reason Ahan thought it would be funny to throw a rock at me. I don't know why. We were just playing and he threw this rock at me and it hit me in the face.
You had that scar. Yeah.
And I still have the scar. And you guys rushed me to the hospital to get stitches. That's one scary story I remember. Another scary story, oh my God. Ahan and me were playing in the park, and this is when we were a little older. We had our nanny was called, I think, Nazia. We loved her. She was the nicest.
She's very sweet, yeah.
I loved her.
Nazia.
So we were all playing in the park, Nazia, Ahan and me. And I shouldn't be laughing at that, a bad person. I can't be laughing at this. Guys, please forgive me. This is fun. I know it's serious, but it's funny.
She used to say, "Mo chala, mo chala."
No, wait.
Yeah.
We were playing in the park. and hits Nadia on the head.
Oh yeah, I
She
remember.
passes out.
Oh my god, I remember
And
this.
me and Ahan are so small, we're standing there looking at her like, dude, what the hell? You're supposed to be taking care of us. There's strangers here. We can literally get kidnapped right now.
I remember. She was very skinny.
And we're trying to wake her up. And she was so skinny.
She's very thin. I used to try to feed her.
I
She's
know,
so
she'll be
thin.
laughing. I love her so much. If she's watching this, Nadia, I love you. But this is just funny now. That I just remember that so clearly because me and Ahan at the time we didn't find it funny. We were in full on panic mode, like dumb and dumber. I just was running around in circles, like not knowing what to do. And then finally she gains consciousness. I'm like, are you okay? Are you fine?
We check her
We need
head.
to go home.
Yeah.
And then we go home and then we took her to the hospital. She was completely fine. Let's talk about some more things that like we experience as mothers, like during pregnancy and after pregnancy. I think the majority of what women go through is changes with their body and stretch marks.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my side of what I experience and then you can tell me mine, yours.
Yeah.
So with mine, like people always, every time I bump into someone, they were like, oh, like how do you get your pre-pregnancy body back? Like how do you bounce back? Even though I am currently at my pre-pregnancy weight, I feel like my body has permanently changed in ways that people might not be able to see, but I can, they just changes, small changes that I can see. Like I feel like when I was pregnant with River, because I was tiny as well, my ribs expanded, if that makes any sense. And now, even though I've lost weight, I'm permanently broader. Like I will never have my pre-pregnancy waist back, no matter how much I work out or no matter how many crunches I do. I am permanently broader.
And
like
heavier on the
ribs.
top.
And heavier on the top. Oh, you mean like that's the good body changes. I mean, yeah, obviously I'm happier. I'm talking about the negative. But I think I got lucky I didn't get stretch marks. Did you get stretch marks?
Yeah, so I use every possible oil, like all these marketing gimmicks, and you believe it, and you want to buy all these oils, and I kept rubbing my belly. And then every time I would go for a checkup, I would ask the doctor, and I remember the 9th month, he says, oh, I said, what's wrong, doctor? And he said, you started getting stretch marks. I said, oh my God, towards the end, because she was a very big baby, and I got that last 2 weeks, a lot of stretch marks.
Yeah.
Just
Do you
there
think
for
it's genetic?
I don't know, because I remember my mom has a lot of stretch marks, but she's had 6 kids, 6 kids, so yeah.
That's crazy. We should have got Nani on this podcast. She's had 6 kids.
6
I
kids.
bet she's had crazy birth stories.
Yeah.
I think it's a mixture of stretch marks, mixture of genetics, how big your baby is, and also kind of like what product you use.
Also, talking about stretch marks, I had a C-section, right? So at that time, I don't know how they would stitch you up. I was stitched up really badly, okay? Because I permanently have this little, what you call it, that
The scarf?
the skin, the scalp,
Oh, like
the
loose.
skin, like loose skin, sticking out, and it's like fat, that it's fat or it's loss of muscle. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't go away. No matter what I've tried, I'm so much into fitness. I work out, I've done abs. I was fit everywhere, got back into shape really after both the babies, but that little nagging pooch or whatever you call it.
Pouch.
Mom
Mom
pouch,
pouch.
like a candy. Oh, so cute.
I also keep getting asked that question, like how do you lose your mom pout? How do you lose your mom pout?
Yeah.
For me, I think it was my bounce back was a little quicker because I also, thanks to my husband that cooks so well, I think I ate pretty well during my pregnancy, so I didn't put on that much weight. My doctor said I'd put on just the perfect weight I need to have a healthy baby and nothing extra. So when I gave birth to River, I didn't have a lot of, bounce back weight to get back. But like I said, I feel like even though I'm back to my pre-pregnancy weight, I'm permanently wider.
Also, you did a lot, you traveled a lot, you're a very, very active mom.
active.
Yeah, super active mom.
It
It makes a big difference.
Even just like staying in the US, I feel like we're consistently doing things. Even just around the house, when I was super pregnant, I'm like washing dishes, doing laundry, or consistently just on your feet.
Yeah, I had help, I mean, I would go to the gym, come back, or go to yoga, walk, come back.
Yeah.
But the rest of the day, I was watching a movie or, going about doing my own, reading and whatever, yeah.
Okay. Do you think that if you didn't have kids, that you would be more successful or like have a completely different career? Like if you compare it, if you did have to, like, did we hold you back? And it's fine, you won't feel bad if you say we did hold you back.
Y'all didn't hold me back. I was this kind of mother. Firstly, before I got married, I wanted to be a nun. Okay. And then I saw a foreigner and I wanted to marry a foreigner. And then I landed up with
This
dad.
is off topic, but before.
Yeah.
When you were small, you were like, what, do you want to become a nun? You want to become a nun?
Yeah, so it's just, why I'm saying this is because I'm always wanting to be perfect with everything, you know. So when I had my kids, I said, I want to be this perfect mother, you know. I'm not thinking about my career right now. Dadi was working, mother, Dadaji, everybody, dad was working. So I remember when Ahan was 2 years old and you were 4 years old, that is when I went abroad to study. For the first time I left here. I went to study because
How old were we?
you were 4.
I was
and
4.
Whatever.
So you didn't work like properly full time till we were 4?
Yeah, I used to write from the house. I wrote a lot of magazine articles for 10 years before you all were born. And that was always from the house, right? Because I was writing for every publication, every newspaper on health and wellness. And when you came of an age where Dadi was very helpful, hands-on grandmom, dad was there, I decided to go abroad and study a course because I wanted to get better at my writing. Got back to India and I got offered the Miss Indias, you know, because at that time the concept of personal training was not heard of. People didn't know what a personal trainer was. So I studied to be a personal trainer, came back to India, got offered the Miss Indias. And then I said, my kids are so small, you know. So I took on one client. I remember she came up to me and said that, you know, I've never, after my babies, lost weight. And then I made her lose so much of weight. And they started calling her Mrs. India because she had lost so much of weight. So that's how I got into my career. But I revolved my career around the kids. When they started going more often to school for a longer period, I took on my second client, third client, and then when I went to full-time school, that's when I really started working. But everything was, I would go at a time when you all were at school, when you would come back, I would be at home.
So with me, luckily we work from home, so I don't think it really held me back in any way because I'm still working with the brands I want to work with. But what it did kind of hold me back was during my 3rd trimester and when he was born, we did lose out on some work that involved traveling. Obviously, we couldn't travel with the newborn. And I think still date, we do get, paid work that involves us to go to a different country for like a day. I was invited to launch, what is this one, these really big international makeup brands. Remember they invited us to Delhi, to Delhi for one day to launch it. And I was just like, the money is so good, but we just had to say no because it's, he's exclusively breastfed now. It just was too hectic to go there for a day with him and come back. So there are still things that I have to say no to that I want to do. But overall, I don't think it held me back work-wise. I think that's a good way to end this video. I think we spoke about everything. If we missed something, we'll do another one. Let us know if you guys enjoyed this video. We can do this anytime. Thank you for doing this.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mommies.
Kiss, kiss.
See you guys next time. Happy Mother's Day. I love you. I love you. Let's go.